At this hour, the political firestorm is now brewing tonight in our nation's capital. Democrats long predicting their blue wave. Nancy Pelosi all but guaranteeing a Democratic landslide. The liar, Shifty Schiff, Maxine Waters, both plotting revenge tonight, real revenge. But with just 5 days to go until the all-important midterm elections, well, many prominent Democrats, they're limping and hoping that Tuesday gets here fast enough because they're limping towards the finish line. Why? Because every race is up in the air. Everything's in play tonight. Plagued by corruption. Get this. New Jersey Democrat Bob Menendez. Literally, it's all hands on deck scrambling to try and get him reelected in New Jersey, to save New Jersey tonight. You have far left Florida gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum. He is facing a firestorm of controversy on top of his ongoing criminal investigation, a major development as it relates to the tape we aired from Project Veritas last night. In Arizona tonight, Democratic radical Kristen Sinema, she's having a hard time shaking her really bizarre comments. She's literally down by 7 in a brand new poll, maybe suggesting if you're going to run for office, you may not want to call the people in your state crazy and maybe not say it's okay to join the enemy, the Taliban, after we lose 3,000 Americans. Now, Republicans are leading in early voting numbers. That's good news. But as we speak, the mainstream media, they've lost it. They're all in. Now 24/7 campaigning for Democratic candidates, a full-on media assault to help Nancy and Chuck. Celebrities, they're losing it. They're out in full force. Everyone on the left seeking to reclaim power at all costs. Next Tuesday, November the 6th, everything's at stake. The good news tonight is you have the power. You can shock the world again. And if you do, how priceless would that be? And by the way, also tonight, the migrant caravan gets closer and closer. You have the power to secure our borders once and for all in 5 days. Sit tight, buckle up. It's time for tonight's breaking news opening monologue. All right, the president, as we speak, holding another big rally tonight, this time in Missouri. He is there campaigning for now surging Republican Senate candidate Josh Hawley in his race against far left incumbent Claire McCaskill. Let's dip in.
The choice in this election could not be more clear. The Republican agenda is the mainstream agenda of the American people. It's how we all got here, the greatest movement in the history of politics in our country. It's about you, not about me. The Democrat agenda is the agenda of the extreme far left. They've gone crazy, folks. They've gone totally loco.
Is there any Democrat you can think of in the country that can get crowds like that night after night after night? Interesting phenomenon. Now, for the past 2 years, McCaskill, she has opposed the president on every issue. She is out of touch with Missouri, voting against both Supreme Court picks. She voted against the tax cuts. That's money in your pocket. She never backed the president's plan for a wall. But now she's claiming, well, maybe President Trump is right on border security. In other words, an election week conversion, not even year. She's literally lying and caught lying to the people of Missouri. They're not stupid. Real Clear Politics average puts Josh Hawley up at this hour, being caught on tape, basically admitting, like so many others, she's pretending in Missouri to be a moderate to win. That's not helping her. McCaskill is not the only Democrat in serious trouble tonight. In fact, Republican candidates nationwide are ahead in early voting numbers. That is a good thing because in 2016, during Trump's historic win, Republicans were actually down in the very same metric. Look at the state of New Jersey tonight. Who thought we'd be talking about New Jersey? That's a deep blue state. Scandal-plagued Democrat incumbent Senator Bob Menendez seriously now losing ground to his Republican opponent. According to a report from the New York Times, the Democrats are scared. All hands are on deck. They're all scrambling to save New Jersey. Now, to all our viewers in New Jersey tonight, this is real. Menendez can and should be defeated. You need to vote. We go to the state of Florida tonight. Another scandal-plagued Democrat, gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum, facing even more serious issues. As we speak, a criminal investigation into bribery charges continues to unfold. Oh, yeah, the FBI guy that gave him tickets to Hamilton, whoopsie-daisy. And now more fallout over the undercover video we showed you broke last night right here on this program. ProjectVeritas.com showing how Gillum's staffers trashed Floridians, plotted to deceive voters. Now, you get to decide for yourself. If you live in Florida, is this the guy you want as your governor? By the way, he wants to raise business taxes 40%. He's part of the crazy, crazy, crazy left. And by the way, he's not telling the people of Florida that. Oh, and by the way, Florida, this is an effed up state, a cracker state. Oh, you whip them up, the poor, the middle class. You have to whip them up into a frenzy in order for them to vote. Really? Well, today, the campaign had to part ways with that staffer. They didn't return our request for comment. Shocking. But if Gillum's crazy, 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 crazy far-left views, maybe he could work at fake news MSNBC. And his radical associations and his corruption aren't enough to support this guy, or reasons not enough to support this guy. Remember, Floridians, his first order of business is to raise your taxes. I'm sure you're all dying for that. Want to vote for that in Florida. Take a look.
97% of businesses in my state pay no corporate taxes at all. 97%. 3% of companies in the state of Florida, the wealthiest 3% of companies in our state, pay the corporate tax rate. It's the same 3% that walked away under the Trump tax realignment with $6.3 billion of our money. So what we've said is you can keep $5.3 billion, but we want $1 billion of that to come into the state of Florida. The state of Florida cannot be a cheap date and think that we're going to be able to rise to the highest of our potential. We're 40th out of 50th in quality of public education. In my opinion, this is a win-win.
Florida, my prediction is if you do vote for Andrew Gillum, you're becoming a crazy, crazy, crazy state. Anyway, if he wins, you will reap all of the consequences with your paychecks. Gillum will laugh all the way to the bank, and he will be the most radical left-wing governor in history. Ron DeSantis needs your support tonight. In Arizona, great news. Veteran war hero, 28 years, 6 tour deployments, Afghanistan, Iraq, Martha McSally on this show last night. She has now finally opened up a significant 7-point lead in that race against Democrat Kristen Sinema. The radical past is now finally sinking in with the people of Arizona. Yes, she organized an event with the radical attorney for the notorious blind sheikh, as we've been telling you, one suggesting it's okay after 9/11 for Americans, if they want to join the Taliban, you know, the group that wants to kill us, we, the people of America. Also constantly calling the good people of Arizona, quote, crazy, but kind of in a Lindsay Lohan way. And she said, of course, that her state, she wants your vote, is the meth lab of democracy. And when given a chance to actually address these remarks, no apology, none. This is amazing. Take a look.
As we see in the waning days of this campaign, Martha has chosen to continue running a highly negative campaign full of false attacks and lies. That's her choice. She can continue to do so if she wants. But Arizona voters will choose the person they trust to be their voice in Washington, D.C.
She wouldn't even apologize for saying it's okay to join the Taliban. I guess the truth hurts there. People of Arizona are waking up tonight. And while Republicans appear to have a serious edge in the Senate, the House, a different story. Dozens of must-win Republican-held districts are now toss-ups tonight. Nancy Pelosi, she's predicting victory. In 5 days, if Republicans lose control of the House, let me point out to you what will happen. That's right, Nancy Pelosi will be your speaker. The biggest liar in America, Adam Shifty Schiff. He will be the House Intel Committee chairman. Endless investigations of nothing. He's already bragging about his plans to ramp up these investigations into phony Trump-Russia collusion, which has pretty much now been debunked. Take a look.
Republicans walked away from the investigation. The Democratic minority has continued, and we've been bringing witnesses in, and we've been learning more. And that work won't stop when we take the majority, but we will be able to get answers the Republicans were unwilling to pursue, records that the Republicans wouldn't ask for. The question, though, that I don't know whether Mueller has been able to answer, because I don't know whether he's been given the license to look into it, is were the Russians laundering money through the Trump organization? And that will be a very high priority to get an answer to, for the reason that if they were doing this, it's not only a crime, but it's something provable, something that the Russians could hold over the head of the President of the United States.
Oh, my God, he's been saying the same thing for 2 years. Anyway, and by the way, he doesn't care about Hillary's bought and paid for phony Russian dossier. Yeah, the one that they used to commit a fraud on a FISA court. Then, of course, there's Impeach 45, Maxine Waters. Democrats win. She will likely chair the very important Financial Services Committee. And let's just say, in her own words, she sounds like she's out for revenge, too, just like Shifty Schiff.
I will be the first African American, the first woman to chair the powerful Financial Services Committee. That's all of Wall Street. That's all the insurance companies. That's all the banks. What am I going to do to you? What I'm going to do to you is fair. I'm going to do to you what you did to us.
I'm going to do to you what you did to us. That's why all 435 House races matter tonight. Now, regardless, I'll say this. Let not your heart be troubled. Fox News contributor, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, out with a brand new piece tonight. He is throwing cold water on the Democrats' blue wave predictions. According to the former Speaker, Republicans will likely hold on to the Senate and gain seats. And he says maybe even the House. But that's going to be decided by you, we, the people. Of course, as pointed out in this very insightful piece, the U.S. Senate controls judicial confirmations, meaning if Republicans control the Senate, the president's agenda, he argues, and is right, will remain intact. Now, of course, the left is doing anything and everything in their power to stop the president's successful agenda and all Republicans across the country. And as per usual, predictably, Hollywood's biggest know-nothing liberals, they're out there hitting the campaign trail for Democrats. Oprah, well, she's out there stumping for Georgia's totally unqualified gubernatorial candidate. In Florida, Jimmy Buffett, he's still playing. He's performing at a campaign event for Gillum and Nelson. And on TV, many other celebrities, they're telling you exactly how they want you to vote because they're celebrities. They always know everything. They're right. Take a look.
If somebody asked you, what do you care about? What would you say?
Losing your health care.
Equal pay.
Equal rights.
What really, honestly matters to you?
Look, if you're worried about your pre-existing conditions,
If you can't take another school shooting.
What matters to you?
Civility,
kindness,
Dignity.
freedom of the press.
Freedom of speech.
All of our freedoms.
Do they matter?
Seriously.
Seriously, do they matter to you?
then vote.
If you care about immigration,
Children being taken away at the border.
if gun reform matters,
Climate change.
healthcare for young,
For old matters.
then vote.
If basic human rights matter, then vote.
If women's rights really are human rights,
Then vote.
Don't lose hope.
Vote as if it matters because it does.
Get out and vote. It matters.
On November 6th, we're all in this together.
They kind of forgot that they want open borders. They kind of forgot that they liked Obamacare and supported him, and he was the worst economic president in our lifetime. They never mentioned due process and the presumption of innocence, or the Constitution, or lower taxes. That's right, Obama raised them. Of course, far-left Hollywood liberals are not the only sycophants supporting the Democratic cause tonight. The biggest cheerleaders of the left have long been members of the mainstream media. But tonight, wow, they're up in their game. Some of their best anti-Trump rhetoric ever is getting rolled out and out of control. Especially true, poor morning liberal Joe. I think the election is really taking a toll on poor Mika. Take a look.
Our democracy is under attack with bombs targeting Trump's enemies and shootings in synagogues by a nationalist imitating the president's racist rants. The rhetoric of this racist, heartless, soulless man will lead to more violence. Yes, I said that. This is a so-called leader with no shame. He doesn't care. He's got no sense of decency, no sense of duty, and no limits. If you want a slight check on this man and his unrelenting race to the finish here to make sure he can continue destroying this country, you might want to vote all D.
You know, just imagine for a moment. Liberals like to imagine. John Lennon. Just imagine for a moment what's going to happen if the Republicans kept the House and the Senate. They're going to lose it. That's almost worth the price of admission. I know they're trying to scare you into voting Democrats in the midterms. And, of course, Howard Dean was far worse, actually sick, celebrating the Democrats' momentum surrounding the shooting in the synagogue in Pittsburgh. And I'm not making that up. Take a look.
The Democrats are trying to basically run against a president who's got a very powerful message of hate, basically, which can be effective at times like this when the nation has been turned upside down by this president. So, I'm pretty optimistic, actually. I do think there is a tendency towards voting Democratic, and I think the Democrats are a lot more energized, particularly, I hate to say this, after the shootings in Pittsburgh.
That's pretty sick, pretty ugly, pretty twisted. Look, we have to take everything Howard Dean, though, says with a grain of salt. After all, he's not exactly known for being of sound mind around election time.
We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. And we're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
Yeah! All right. I guess we can expect more of that if the Democrats' big blue wave doesn't exactly play out on November 6th. Just imagine that. Now, tonight, while the media, the left, working extra hard, vilifying Republicans and the president, well, he's focused on a serious situation at our southern border. And at this hour tonight, the migrant caravan is pushing even closer to our southern border. As a response, President Trump is now sending up to 15,000 troops to help secure that border. The first active duty military actually arrived today in Texas. Earlier today, the president had this very clear warning to those marching towards our borders with no intention of respecting our sovereignty, our rule of law, and our borders. Take a look.
At this very moment, large, well-organized caravans of migrants are marching toward our southern border. Some people call it an invasion. It's like an invasion. They have violently overrun the Mexican border. You saw that 2 days ago. These are tough people in many cases. A lot of young men, strong men, and a lot of men that maybe we don't want in our country. But again, we'll find that out through the legal process. These illegal caravans will not be allowed into the United States. And they should turn back now, because they're wasting their time.
John Podesta, the Center for American Progress, actually saying, don't talk about immigration. Just don't talk about it. Just, change the topic. That's what they're saying. Without a doubt, our immigration system is broken. The situation is dire at the border. 2018 alone, over 50,000 unaccompanied minors have been apprehended crossing illegally, a 171% increase from 2010. This year, over 17,000 known criminals have been apprehended at the border, along with over 1,000 dangerous gang members. 2017, over 2,000 pounds of fentanyl was seized by ICE, enough fentanyl to kill every single solitary American. And a stunning new data from the Center for Immigration Studies is showing tonight that each illegal immigrant that crossed the border costs you, the American taxpayers, $70,000. And Trump is vowing to take a stand against this illegal immigration free-for-all, and he's pushing to end birthright citizenship, chain migration, and build the border wall. He's already spent $3.5 billion. He needs 20 more. Sadly, Democratic policies, open borders, sanctuary cities, and states created this crisis at our southern border. There wouldn't be a caravan if we had the wall. And that means everybody would be safe on both sides, and the wall can have a door. Those same Democratic politicians literally put their heads in the sand. They're told not to talk about it, just like they don't talk about impeachment. Now it's the president's job to clean up their mess, protect the American people. 5 days from now, you have an opportunity and a duty to send a message. You can shock the world. Imagine what it's going to be like. At some of these news networks, I can handle a win or a loss, but they'll go nuts. You'll watch their heads explode on TV. Hollywood will lose it. Straight ahead, we're going to look at the Hannity Big Board tonight. Our friend Bill Hammer will go over all of these important races that will decide the balance of power in the House and the Senate. Steve Doocy, Dan Bongino, and the great one, Mark Levin, all coming up. Please stay with us. All right, the Hannity Big Board is back. And joining us now with the very latest where things stand in key midterm races.
You're taking that again, aren't you?
What? That's the Hannity Big Board.
I thought it was the Bill
my
board.
big board.
Because it's your hour. You're right. Sean, I need 30 minutes, by the way. Because this, no, I want you to understand, there were 1,000 stories for Tuesday night. I mean,
listen,
really,
this is
more
fun.
than we can count.
The Super Bowl. All right, take it away. Show us what you got.
So here's what we've tried to do to viewers to try and tell the story a little bit. Where was the president tonight? He was in the state of Missouri, and you know what's going on there. The Democrat Claire McCaskill and the Republican Josh Hawley. Our Fox poll came out last night. It's just razor tight, 45% to 45%. This is what I think is interesting about the reason why the president made this trip to Missouri tonight. Go back 2 years. These were the results. He won the state by 19 points. There's a lot of red on that state, right, Sean? There's just a few blue counties. But this is where the president had his rally tonight. This Columbia, Missouri, Boone County. You see Hillary Clinton won it by about 7 points. But look at all the red surrounding here. And watch this number here from 46.8%. It's at 72%. It's at 73%. It's 76%. It's 71.9%. You get the idea. And the president has said himself that this is a base election. You got to turn out your base if you want to have a chance. And that's really what a lot of this travel is about. Here's the what if scenario for the Senate. A lot of people know this right now. Just as a reminder, this is our base for Tuesday night. 51 Republicans, 49 Democrats. We'll see how the map fills in. That's on the Senate side. On the House side, I know you're keenly interested in these toss-up races. Here's what we have at the moment. This could change, but these are 29 districts that we consider coin tosses for Tuesday night. Might go to 32, might come down to 25, but right now it's 29. So what's the difference between Virginia 8 and California 10? Now, this is not true for every district here, but this is what Republicans are up against on Tuesday night. A lot of retirements, a lot of open seats, a lot of districts where the Republicans won, but Hillary Clinton won on the presidential level. And so we have to throw that now into the mix and find out on a geographical sense what we think could happen come Tuesday night. So we broke it up in the regions. I'll give you an example here, Sean. I can give you countless examples of where the scenario that I just laid out is true all across the country. This is Virginia 10. This is Barbara Comstock. This is outside of Washington, D.C., and a real tough race here with Jennifer Wexton. These were the presidential results 2 years ago in that district. Hillary Clinton won by 10 points. So you see what some of these candidates are up against. That's Washington, D.C. Take you down the Florida Keys, similar scenario. You see Hillary Clinton won by about 16, 17%. I can take you out into the plains, out in Kansas. Right? This is Kansas District number 3. This is Kevin Yoder, the Republican, and a race against Sharice Davis, the Democrat. 2 years ago, Hillary Clinton won just by a margin here, about 4,000 votes, about 1.2% on the margin. But this is another example, and you go out to California too, and I think this is very, very important for our viewers to remember and all the folks running across the country. Poll closings in California are 11 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday night. We have 8 toss-up districts in California alone. If the House is really that close, in the 7 of 8, Hillary Clinton won the district 2 years ago. So you see now what's on the line. And just one last thought here, Sean. This is where we were 2 years ago, state by state, presidential results when Donald Trump stunned the world. And we're going to see on Tuesday night how many of these voters he attracted 2 years ago, how many are still with him in 2018. So,
all right, pretty amazing. As I look at the Senate, I would also say I think Florida's a toss-up right now. It's dead even. And Josh Hawley is pulling ahead. Marsha Blackburn's got a nice lead now in Tennessee. Kristen Sinema, she's down a lot in Arizona. Dean Heller is holding up in Nevada. That's an important Senate race.
Are you doing the math in your head while you're doing this? Because I'm trying to guess.
Yeah, well, then we can go in Montana with the Libertarian pulling out. That now is a race that is in play, which we will go over. We have the Republican candidate on tonight. Heidi Heitkamp is down by double digits. That's a pickup in North Dakota.
Hang on. We can do it. Pickup in North Dakota. Now you're at 52-48. Where else did you say?
Well, I went through them all. I went through Tennessee, Missouri,
Tennessee
Nevada,
stays. Missouri
Texas.
would be
Ted Cruz is going to win.
Nevada would stay. What happens in Arizona?
Okay, but when have we ever heard of a person running for the Senate that calls everyone in her state crazy, the meth lab of democracy, and she says it's okay to join the Taliban after 9/11?
I'm not voting in Arizona, but you're saying Martha McSally wins. So now you're at 53-47.
By the way, now you understand why they never want me on election night.
I got you. Is that your projection for Tuesday night?
My prediction in which state?
In all of them.
My prediction is Marsha Blackburn. My prediction is Josh Hawley. My prediction is Dean Heller. My prediction is Martha McSally. My prediction is Heitkamp loses. Joe Donnelly, if people of Indiana don't vote Libertarian, that can be one. And Tester can lose in Montana now that the Libertarian pulled out.
What happened in Florida?
Up, throw it up for grabs. Right now, up for grabs.
Okay. I'm going to keep you at 54-46. We'll see if you feel the same way tomorrow night.
Okay. Bill Hemmer, thank you. We'll be watching you on election night. I'll be home drinking heavily, depending either celebrating or in misery, one or the other. Joining us now, author. I can't believe Steve Doocy sells a cookbook 3 weeks before the election, and I love him. And the worst part, he puts me on page 184. He puts Brian and Ainsley on page 1 and 2.
Listen, you should be happy because your recipe is in the holiday chapter. And now we're in November. We're talking turkey. This cookbook has the best turkey you've ever had in your life. And then the Sean Hannity corned beef and cabbage.
Put me at the end of the book in the in the credit section somewhere.
Stop it.
Appendix. And we have NRA TV. Former Secret Service agent. By the way, he has a best-selling book out as well. Dan Bongino. All right, Dan, let's look at those races. You agree with my Senate predictions?
Yeah. I think your Senate predictions are spot on, but Sean, I think Rick Scott takes it in Florida. Listen, nobody knows who Bill Nelson is, Sean. I jokingly said last night, I live in Florida down here. I spend all my time here, obviously. People think he's Ben Nelson from Nebraska, the Cornhusker kickback guy. Nobody has any idea who this is, Bill Nelson. He has very little legislative record to run on. Rick Scott, I think, did an admirable job with the disastrous hurricane up in the Panhandle. I think Florida, I think Rick Scott's got a darn good chance, and I think Ron DeSantis pulls it out, too. I think there is a massive undervote in the polls for these two guys.
I think for Rick Scott, and I'd also add Ron DeSantis, this tape was devastating, this Project Veritas tape on Andrew Gillum. Steve, I know you're covering it every morning. On a serious note, I think we look good for conservatives, Republicans. If you don't want Speaker of the House Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Schumer, things look better in the Senate. I think Bill Hemmer makes a lot of good points. 45 retirements. That's a lot. Headwinds against, look, Bill Clinton got crushed in 94. Newt became the Speaker, first time 40 years. 2010, Obama got crushed in his first midterm.
Well, think about why there are so many retirements this time around. It's because a year ago, if the election would have been held a year ago, it would have been a gigantic blue tsunami. Remember repeal and replace that the Republicans had promised for a very long time. That didn't get passed. The president's approval rating was not where it is today. And we were not to the point where the tax cut for Americans was going to go through. Fast forward to today, and now the president's got better ratings, and the tax cut is about even money.
Effect, the caravan effect, the mob rule effect, and then I would add one other thing: are you better off than you were 2 years ago?
And see, I think that is perhaps a tactical mistake of the Republicans. They should have been playing on the economy because the Democrats have brilliantly played the health care card. In the last year, they all got together. How can they
play the health care card when they gave us Obamacare?
Listen,
keep your doctor plan, save money.
Because in the last year, when the Republicans did the tax cut, they took away the individual mandate, and it gave the Democrats the argument. They took away the individual mandate. What are they going to take away from you next? They don't have a single plan. They don't have a 5-point plan.
Predictions.
They just think that people are going to wind up voting for them because of that.
We hold the House by 2 to 3 seats, and we pick up 4 to 5 seats in the Senate. Guaranteed.
Steve. If I had a magic 8-ball, I would shake it, and it would say, "Ask again later."
You're totally wimping out. I gave you my Senate prediction.
Get on the record.
People, what I really believe.
The Republicans will hold the Senate.
As of tonight, Republicans on paper are down 5 in the House. That means you better take it seriously.
I think that's right.
When we come back, we'll get the great one, Mark Levin's predictions for the midterms and his take on the state of the country. Straight ahead. All right, joining us now, he is the host of CRTV's Levin TV, the host of Life, Liberty, and Levin. Wow, you had big ratings this weekend right here on the Fox News channel. I call him the great one, Mark Levin. We missed you a couple of weeks, and we're glad you're back, my friend. Let's talk the election.
Thank you. Well, you know what? It's time for we, the people, to stand up for ourselves, for our families, for our faith, for our country, for our party, and for our president. You know, the media have interposed themselves in this election, Sean. We're actually fighting the media, we're fighting the Democrats, we're fighting academia, we're fighting Hollywood and all the rest. And 64% of the voters say the press has done more to divide the country. More people think the press has divided the country than the President of the United States. And I'm going to tell you why. The word Hitler is very popular with the press, with Joe Scarborough. The word white supremacy is very popular over there at CNN. The word Stalin's now starting to pick up. They consider those of us who support this president and support an America agenda as Nazis. They referred to us as racists, as white supremacists. Every time there's some horrific event, they try and pin it on us, pin it on our president, pin it on our party. It's really time, America, to push back. Enough is enough. We cannot turn any part of this government over to these radical, hardcore Democrats and their mouthpieces in the media. And I want to give you a few examples here. They talk about the president, his tone, and the relationship to violence. The president hasn't caused any violence. When Antifa's out there beating up people, the Marxist militia, the media are very passive, rarely say anything. When Bill Clinton pardoned the FALN terrorists who murdered 4 people and injured 44 other people, I don't remember them saying Bill Clinton was contributing to a violent tone in this country. When Barack Obama commuted the leader of that organization, who never repented, I don't remember them bringing that up. When Barack Obama befriended Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn of the Weather Underground and the SDS, the bombers, domestic terrorists, I don't remember anybody talking about him and violence and the tone of violence. Do you? Obama opens an embassy in Cuba, a genocidal police state. He's celebrated. Donald Trump moves our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, and he's attacked by fools like Steve Schmidt over on MSNBC. Now let's talk about immigration briefly. Dwight Eisenhower, he's not considered a white supremacist, is he? He's not considered a racist, is he? Dwight Eisenhower, when he became president of the United States, he created a program called Operation Wetback. That's not me, that was him. Operation Wetback, what was that? He ordered the military to round up 1.3 million illegal aliens and deport them. And that's exactly what he did. And he was supported by the Democrat Party, too. I'll go further. 1960s, Cesar Chavez, the founder of the United Farm Workers Union, he ordered his members at night to watch the southern border and report illegal aliens coming over the border to then the INS. 1969, Chavez, Ralph Abernathy, who'd been the confidant of Martin Luther King in 1969, and Walter Mondale, I don't believe he was a racist, they led protests on the southern border against illegal immigration. I'll go on. The press says Donald Trump is threatening freedom of the press. How so? By calling them out? By challenging them? By exposing them? John Adams, one of our greatest founders, put in place the Sedition Act. The Sedition Act. He actually put some newspapers out of business and put some journalists in prison. Abraham Lincoln put out an executive order. They shut down almost 300 newspapers and put journalists and editors in prison. And not only that, the great progressive leader, Woodrow Wilson, he had the Sedition Act of 1918, did the same thing, put some journalists in prison and some of his opponents. Donald Trump hasn't done anything like this. He's not rounding up illegal immigrants who are in this country by the hundreds of thousands. He's not shutting down newspapers. He's not putting journalists in prison. Yet they refer to him as Hitler and as Stalin. And then we have this policy where we separate children from their parents who come here illegally, not because we want to put them in cages like Obama did, but because we want to protect these children from coyotes, from kidnappers. You got to sort them out and figure out who's who since they're here illegally. And they said, well, he's putting them in internment camps. Actually, it was Franklin Roosevelt who actually put Japanese Americans and Americans of Japanese descent in internment camps. They don't call him Hitler. They don't call him Stalin or anything of the sort. And I'll even go here. They attack our president. They say a womanizer. They bring the Stormy Daniels in front of TV, left and right, left and right. This president has been our president. He's conducted himself in the Oval Office with great acumen. Great acumen. Now, people are laughing. JFK was having affairs constantly in the Oval Office in the White House with an East German spy, with a mob boss girlfriend, with a 17-year-old intern, and he was outdone by LBJ. We don't talk about that stuff. How come? Because our goal, you see, is to trash the President of the United States. The media in this country, America, is campaigning against you, campaigning against your values, campaigning against your virtue, against the Declaration, against the Constitution. And you have a rare opportunity every now and then to show yourself, to stand up and say, we're not putting up with this anymore. We're going to protect our country. We're going to protect our values, our institutions, our party, and our president. And most of all, ourselves. You're sick of being called Nazis? You're sick of being called racists? You're sick of being called white supremacists? Then you need to vote. And you need to vote now if you have early voting, and you need to vote Tuesday, and you need to be your own precinct captain and bring out 4, 5, 6 people and make sure you vote. Because here's the deal. If more of us vote, we win. If less of them vote, they lose.
Mark Levin, by the way, I want to say publicly our condolences. I knew your dad. He recently passed away, a great man. Thank you, my friend, for being with us. Don't miss it.
Thank you.
Mark show, big show this weekend. Life, Liberty, Levin. You don't want to miss it Sunday night, right here on the Fox News Channel. When we come back, 2 important Senate candidates. One, Mike Braun, Indiana. Matt Rosendale in Montana. They can both win. We'll explain. When we get back, they'll join us. Just 5 days away from the crucially important midterm elections. Tonight, we are featuring 2 very important key Senate races. They could tip the balance of power. Joining us live from the great state of Montana, GOP Senate candidate Matt Rosendale, and from the great state of Indiana, the Hoosier state, GOP Senate candidate Mike Braun. Mike, I hear there's going to be a big rally tomorrow. The president, if my dates are right.
He's coming in tomorrow, and then, yep, he's coming in tomorrow to Indianapolis, and then next Monday to Fort Wayne.
Well, 2 important. Listen, both of you were in the same predicament until yesterday. And Matt, I'll throw it to you. You had a libertarian in your race, and something happened that caused him to drop out of that race. And clearly, John Tester's been a steady Schumer vote. He doesn't represent the values of Montana. Bottom line.
No, he does not, Sean, and I'll tell you something, this backfired on him. John Tester's dark money ally sent out an illegal mailer, and what it did was help us to unify the libertarians and the independents and the Republicans across the state of Montana, although it came no shock to us because John has been the recipient of so much financing from the special interests and lobbyists. He is the #1 recipient of contributions from lobbyists in the nation, Sean, in the entire nation. More than Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi.
Did he vote for Kavanaugh and Gorsuch? Because I think that the Montana that voted so heavily Trump would have liked those things.
They would have really liked those things. I've been traveling around the state, and we are seeing a dramatic expansion of our economy and jobs being created because as a direct result of those tax cuts that John Tester did vote against. And he voted against Gorsuch, and he voted against Kavanaugh, and yet he embraces the idea of open borders and sanctuary cities. And that is not aligned with the ideals of the people of Montana.
Mike Braun, let me go back to you because you don't have the luxury that your soon-to-be, hopefully, colleague had with the Libertarian dropping out, but you still have a lead. I love Libertarians. I really do. I have civil Libertarian streaks in me in some ways. Problem is they're siphoning away votes for you, and that only helps Joe Donnelly. So I'm asking my Libertarian friends in Indiana to vote for you. Joe Donnelly, he also didn't vote for either Supreme Court justice. He didn't vote for the tax cuts, did he?
No, it's basically the same thing as Tester, and both of our races have been dominated by Chuck Schumer's PACs that pour in all this negative advertising. And, Sean, it's because the Democratic Party, what is their message? Sell us more government that they already aren't willing to pay for and shove all that debt onto our kids and grandkids. So I think it's all coming home to roost across the country. You cannot win these races by trying to tear down your competition, and especially when you got bad voting records like both Tester and Joe Donnelly.
You know, it's amazing. I'm watching both of you. These are 2 very red states that have Democrats that are totally and completely out of touch with the values of their own state. We're going to be watching very closely. How long has John Tester now been in the Senate, Matt?
Too long, Sean. Too long. He has been too wrong for too long. He's been in for 12 years, and he stood there 12 years ago and told folks he wouldn't be encumbered by special interests. He said he would. He complained about reckless spending and has increased the national debt from $8 trillion to over $21 trillion at the exact same time that I was cutting costs at the state level. He just is completely out of touch with the folks of Montana. He bought a $1 million home in Washington, D.C. And he put Montana in his rearview mirror.
And Mike Braun, let me go back to you. If the people go out and vote for you, they will have their values reflected in Washington, will they not?
No doubt about it. And Joe Donnelly, from the time he got to Notre Dame, got his law degree, he's been running for office and been a career politician and has voted against Hoosier values for the 12 years he's been in Congress and in the Senate. And you can count on me to reflect Hoosier values when I become the next senator.
Mike Braun, we're wishing you the best. We're going to be watching Indiana and Montana, both winnable states. Both would be pickups, huge for the country.